Welcome to CalCast, your Create International podcast. God Network News, where we give you a new perspective
on events happening in our world today.
This is GNN.
This is God Network News, episode 109. Welcome, GNN fans, to another episode of God Network News, the podcast that tells you what God's doing around the world. Not what CNN tells you, but what GNN tells you is going on in the world. If you're tired of listening to all of that crisis network news and you want to hear what God's doing, well, give us a listen. Greetings, faithful God Network News fans and all you new listeners to God Network News. We're really excited to be bringing you fresh news from the field of what God's doing amongst unreached people group. And we want to thank you for all of you that listened to our series on the Middle East and all of the incredible stories and the comments that you gave. Please don't hesitate to put comments on our website and any questions you might have. And do visit those links that we have put in the show notes if you're interested in getting in contact with some of those interesting people that are behind the stories. And we want to start a whole new series, and this one is going to be very exciting. We've got tremendous amount of stories, fantastic, incredible stories of God's miracles from the continent of deep, dark Africa. Actually, it's not deep, dark Africa anymore because about 60% of the population of that continent are now believers in Jesus. But there are still many unreached people groups there, and we've got a lot of workers that are doing incredible work amongst those remaining unreached people groups. And I hope that you will be inspired by all of these great stories from the continent of Africa. Hello, once again, God Network News fans. We are in South Africa and with several of our friends here that are doing work in this continent and with many unreached people groups. And once again, we have our dear brother Paulo here, and he is going to tell us about another story that is happening in Tanzania. Is that right? Another exciting story that's happening in Tanzania. So, Paulo, please tell us your story.
This story is about a guy, his name is David. So David, he is a guy that live in the bush among his people group. The name of his people group is Kisongo. David, he knew some stories about the Christian people, but he wasn't Christian. So then he started to ask questions, why the Christians love to pray. So then during one night, he was just sleeping in his house. He came from an animist background, very strong. So they lived in the bush. So then during one night, according to him, he listened the word prayer. So then it was interesting for him. So then he just wake up in the morning, the next day in the morning. So then he went to his old brother and he asked his old brother, what is prayer? Why many people, the Christian people, they love to pray? Why they pray? So then his old brother told him, I don't know how to answer you, because even me, I don't know why they pray. But if you are interesting, if you really have interest to know more about prayer, I know there is another place, a small town, and over there has one father from the Catholic Church. So maybe you can go to him and we can ask him to explain us about prayer. So then they just at the same day, the next day when they wake up, so they went to the small town, just not very far from the place that they were living. So then they look for the Catholic father. So they found him. After they found him, they explained what they were planning to do there. So then they asked the father, "What is prayer?" So the father told him some few words, but he didn't explain to him what is prayer. So then they went back to their village, and that guy, David, he started to think what is prayer and talking with his brother, what is prayer? I want to know more about prayer.
Yeah.
So then it was they got in the village evening. So then later on they went to sleep, and at that second night around 3 a.m. that guy David, he started to pray, but he didn't know that he was praying. So because he was praying in a different tongue that he didn't know. So then he was just praying and speaking in another tongue. Speaking in tongues that he didn't know what tongue he was speaking, but he believed that he was praying. It was around 3 a.m. So then he stopped for after 1 hour, more or less 1 hour, because he doesn't know the right time. He took a time to pray, but he didn't know that he was praying, and he didn't know the language he was praying. So after this situation, on the another day, he started to ask the people in the village and about what is prayer, but nobody in the village could explain to him what is prayer. So then after some days, he decided to move from the village, not to move, but just to go to another town, one big town, that is the town that I live in Tanzania. So, but on his way, he stopped in another village. The name of the village is Sagayo. So in that village has one church, one simple church among the Maasai people. So then he stopped there to sleep for some days and to rest and get some food, because they do it when they are traveling in the bush. So then he stopped there. So when he stopped there, the person, it was one lady that was taking care and leading that small simple church in the bush. So she told to him about me, because that church was one of the church that we planted. So then she phoned me. She said, "Paulo, can you come here?" She said to me, "Can you come here in the village?" So at the same day, I was planning, without she knows, I was planning to go to the village. So it was in my plan. So then I went to the village. So when I got in the village, I met him. So then he came to me. Then he told me all this history that I am telling you now. So then he told me about the situation, what happened. So then we just got a place to sit, and I explained more to him about what is prayer, about Jesus' life, about the Christianity, about the Bible. So we took a long time talking and he started to make a lot of questions.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to help us continue to bring exciting stories fresh from the field. Visit our website at godnetworknews.com and select the PayPal link on the right side of the page, or consider becoming a Patreon partner to receive access to more valuable materials exclusive to our members.